Welcome to Forever, man. Let's go. Come on. This forever. No surrender. Yeah. You know that this right here forever. Go. And there will be no surrender. Now allow me to reintroduce myself.
You're now tuned in to the Dads Who Live podcast. I'm Joel Staley with my co-host Tyler Gaeta. And in this episode, we talk about the 5 tips to become your best self in the year 2020. You're not going to want to miss this one, guys.
You can also check us out if you like this sweet apparel that we've been wearing during the podcast. You can also get this stuff at www.dadswholiftapparel.com.
You are now tuned in to the Dads Who Live podcast. I'm Joel Staley, and this is my co-host Tyler Gaeta.
What's up, guys?
And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the top 5 tips you can take with you to become your best self in 2020. Now, if you listen to this podcast, you're obviously a very self-development type oriented person. In this podcast, we want to go over the exact things you can do to level up in life, fitness, and everything else.
All right, guys. So for number 1, we're going to say write down your goals. If they're just in your head, it's really hard to remember them. Goals change. It's hard to think about them and focus on them every day. If you've listened to our previous episodes, we talk about how in the morning is when your brain is, it's the best time to absorb the information and get ready for each day, get in the right mindset, if you will, to what your goals are that day and move forward. So it's great to write them down. Every morning, read them. When you're doing your gratitude list, you read your gratitude list, see those goals and read those as well. And then it's just a lot easier to focus on those and strive towards those on a daily basis.
Here's a great example. Say I'm on a free 30-minute discovery call with a potential client, and I say, all right, well, what's your goal? That person's going to say one of 2 things. They're either going to say, I want to lose some fat, or I want to build some muscle. That's one thing they can say. Or, and at that point in my head, I'm thinking, all right, you've put absolutely no thought into this whatsoever. So when I get a call like that and someone says, you know what, I want to lose some fat, I want to build some muscle, I want to tone up a little bit, that tells me, all right, you've put absolutely no thought into this whatsoever. But if I get on that same call and I say, all right, well, what's your goal? And they say, all right, well, right now I'm 240 pounds, I'm 22% body fat, I want to get down to single-digit body fat, so taking that into account, I have to lose 50 pounds of fat. I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. How do I go about doing that?
Be specific with your goals.
Exactly. So that's when I know, all right, this guy's actually put some thought into this, and we can benchmark some goals to see if you're on track. Because if you want to lose 40 pounds in the next 6 months, well, you're going to not just want to hit the 6-month mark and say, all right, did I lose 40 pounds or didn't I? You want to have little micro goals set in between that. So if you're starting in January, you might say something like, all right, well, by February 1st, I want to be down 8 pounds. I want to have hit the gym, say 20 times, and I want to have meal prepped every Sunday. You do that, and it's very easy to see along the way that you're checking these boxes instead of, all right, well, I have a goal. Let's put on some blinders. Let's put on what's the thing you put around your eyes when you can't see? A blindfold.
Yep.
And then, all right, when we get to 6 months, we'll see if it worked or not. You have to have micro goals along the way to see if you're tracking the right way. And if you're not, then that's the perfect time to adjust and reassess your goals as you go. Do you agree, or?
Oh, I 100% agree, and I'm glad you brought that up. The more specific you are with your goals, that's one of the biggest parts to even writing down your goals, or this first tip is be specific. This first tip could be called be specific with your goals, because you have to know what your goals are in order to achieve them and strive towards them. If they're just in your head and you're not specific, it's easy for that stuff to change. It's easy to get wishy-washy. It's easy to say, oh, well, my goal was 240, but maybe I'll go to 245, or whatever it is. If you're trying to gain weight or you're trying to lose weight, it's just easy for that goal to change and not to stay on track. So if you know specifically exactly what you want, then you can gauge yourself. You can say, all right, by this date, I wanted to lose 40 pounds. So by this date, I need to lose 10 pounds. So you check in on that date. Did I lose it or did I not? Am I on track to my goal or am I not? So that's a tip to being successful in anything. I mean, it could be for weight loss. It could be for business, sales goals. I want to sell this much by this amount of time. You always want to be specific in what you want. Even when it goes back to like manifesting in previous episodes that we've talked about, you want to know exactly what it is that you're looking forward to, exactly what it is that you're working towards. Because a lot of people just throw out these general ideas of like, oh, I want this, or this looks good, or, a lot of times it's even, hey, this is what the norm is, so I want to go here in my life. Any successful person knows exactly who they are, where they want to go, and it's specific, and then they take, what am I looking for? They take
feedback.
Yeah. Yep. Feedback, and they take action. They take action to grow and move towards it.
I think you said something super important there too, which I didn't even alleviate to, was you have to write it down. Because if you just have your goal in your head, I want to lose some fat, well, until you actually take the time, jot it down, make it real, then it's just going to stay in your head. But when you bring it into reality by writing it down, you post it somewhere, whether it's on your mirror in your bathroom or on your refrigerator, somewhere that you're seeing it every single day. When you're opening up your refrigerator to get some leftovers because you're not hungry per se, but you just want to eat because you're bored, you can see that goal. Hey, I want to lose 40 pounds by this date. And then you can be like, oh yeah, you know what? I probably don't need these leftover lasagna rolls. Maybe I can go do some push-ups instead,
right?
Or whatever.
Cock push-ups. So not only that, if you do believe in the manifesting, writing down your goals, writing down what you want is part of manifesting. I mean, writing down is a powerful thing. It's different than just, thoughts are powerful as well, but when you write it down, to me, I believe that it makes it even that much more important.
Right. And I think, honestly, I'd say 90% of people that go to the gym, they go because they want to get more fit. And that's their goal. I want to get more fit. Well, how do you gauge when you've gotten more fit?
And what does get more fit mean?
Exactly.
What's
when are you
look
done? When do you need to stray from your original plan to accommodate what's not happening, what is happening? So it literally has to be a numerical, hey, I want to build this much muscle by this date. So you not only have to quantify your goal, you have to give yourself a deadline to hit that goal. Because if you want to say, I want to get more fit, all right, question number 1, what's more fit? Question number 2, get more fit by when? Like, how do you know if you're failing at this goal or if you're succeeding at this goal? You don't, because you haven't taken the time to get specific enough to really plan out the details.
And when we're talking about goals, I also want to say that, and we touched on this in a previous episode as well, but make your goals larger than they need to be. I don't know if anybody's ever read the 10X book or listen to the 10X book. Your goals should always be larger than you think they need to be. And you're always going to fall short. I mean, everybody always falls short, but you use that and you learn. But if your goals are out here and you fall short, you at least hopefully hit here. And normally, maybe your goals were here, right? So
those listening to the podcast, he's just holding his hands up in different distances from each other.
A madman. But the point is that if you have large goals that are overachievable or maybe overachievable, maybe you'll hit them. It's still better than having a small goal because you're still going to supersede that small goal by trying to have a larger goal that's overachievable or maybe overachievable.
So shoot for the stars, maybe you'll hit the moon. So Tyler, Give us an example. January 1st is fastly approaching. What would be a good example of a personal goal that you might set for yourself, and how would you go about following through so you make sure that you hit that goal?
So my personal goal, well, I've got a couple big personal goals. So I guess my fitness personal goal is I want to get down in the single digits of body fat. I'm probably sitting somewhere around like 18% right now, which is okay, not great. It's a long way from where I started, but I'd like to get down into that, even if it was just for a small period of time, into that 9%. So that's one of my goals. And how I achieve that goal is I know exactly what that number is, so I'm specific in it. And then I hired a coach, which is somebody that knows how to achieve that goal better than I do. And I'm following his plan and his macros and his workouts, and that's going to bring me to that goal. A second goal that I have is to buy an apartment building. So, or some kind of start developing or buy an apartment building. That's my business goal. So in next spring, I'd like to be at that point, right? And so with that, I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what it looks like. And I'm actually manifested. It's in my manifest every morning. I walk through the fucking buildings and I can see them and I own them and I can see running them. And so I know exactly what it looks like. I've actually found one and I know exactly how much it costs. Again, be specific. So I know exactly what I need to get to that number and to that goal. And then I'm watching my money and I'm making sure that I'm being smart in business practices and investments so that I can get there.
Perfect.
How about you?
For 2020, my main goals are going to be to grow my business. Obviously, I can't feed my family and keep a roof over my head if business isn't doing well. But just as importantly as that is I can't really describe to you the feeling I get when I help someone lose 25, 50 pounds of fat in 90 days. So actually, my goal for 2020 is to help 50 people lose 50 pounds of fat.
Nice.
And that's very
I love that.
Specific. It's easy to measure. And I have a timeline, by the end of 2020. So that gives me 1 year. Basically, within 52 weeks, I have to help 50 people lose 50 pounds of fat. As far as my fitness goals, that's something I've always struggled with. I get stuck in that place a lot of people do is, should I bulk right now? I could use some more muscle. Should I cut right now? I could have more abs. So I'll be the first to admit I don't have everything figured out, but that's a downfall of mine. And I will say right now, I would say that bulking, and I'd like to get to 210 pounds before I start cutting. So we'll call it right now on the podcast. That's my official goal.
Perfect. I will say too, guys, goals can be anything. It doesn't have to be money driven. It doesn't have to be success driven. It could be that you want to have a Lamborghini. It could be that you don't want to have a Lamborghini. It doesn't matter. I mean, goals are whatever makes you move forward, whatever you wake up for, and that's what you strive to do that day. I mean, that could be being the best dad that you can be, and that's one of my daily goals. So it doesn't have to get into money or success, but it definitely can.
So I'm excited to talk to you about tip number 2 because I feel like we're very much in sync on this, but it could be the toughest of the 5 tips we give because you never know who that person's going to be. But tip number 2 is cut out the negative people in your life, the people that are dragging you down to their level. What do you feel about that?
It's a must, dude. You have to do it. Not going to say it's easy, but my circle is real small. My close circle is real small. You're lucky enough to be in it.
I feel very obliged.
I'm just kidding.
Lucky.
Just kidding. But seriously, my circle's small. If you don't support me the way that I support you, then you don't need to be in my circle and you don't need to be a part of it. So I'm a firm believer in you are the average of the 5 people that you keep around you on a daily basis. You're an average of all those people. Everything gets mixed in together into your personality, into your thoughts. And it really does come down to thoughts. But if you have a buddy that likes this or they're super excited about this, it's easier for you to be super excited about that. So if you surround yourself with like-minded people that want to grow and always want to move forward, and they don't see things as failure, but they see it as options to learn and get better, you're going to be successful. If you surround yourself with people that all they do is complain and they are victims, the fucking victim syndrome, and it's never them, it's always everybody else. Listen, I am in control of 100% of my life, and so are you. If anything happens in your life, it's your fucking fault. If anything happens in my life, it's my fault. And that's all there is to it. So no one's the victim. your life is what you make it. 100%. Your life is what you make it. You can be brought up into shitty situations, and that sucks. I mean, I think a lot of us have. But your life's still what you make it. Whatever you turn it into, however you overcome those feats, that is you writing your destiny.
So I feel like that might be easier said than done, like a lot of practical tips that are very useful, yet people hear it and say, oh, that doesn't apply to me. This negative person in my life is my wife. I can't just go ahead and divorce her. Or these negative people in my life are my parents. I can't just like stop talking to them. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, so I'm indifferent on this because I say yes, you can.
You're not indifferent, man. Just tell us what you think. I agree with you 100%.
Your life is what you make it. So there are family members that I do not talk to, that I love, but I don't talk to them because they are not beneficial and positive in my life. I'm not married, but there's definitely relationships that I've cut out of my life because they were not for my growth. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts and business podcasts and a lot of different things, and I hear it all the time. And listen, if you're sitting there saying, I want to start a company and I want to do this and I want to do that, and it's going to be a struggle, and so I've got this girlfriend and she's not supportive of it because she doesn't want me working that much. Sorry, but if that's your goal, see ya.
I run into this all the time. Again, on those sales calls is I'll talk to a gentleman who he's so unconfident with his physique that he'll wear hoodies in the summer because he's so embarrassed to show the world that he's got these love handles hanging out. He doesn't have the energy to do the things he wants to do. You name it, he wants to change really bad. But then when I hit the crucial question, is your wife supportive of this goal? He'll say something like, oh, she actually loves my tummy, or she's overweight herself, and she doesn't want me becoming one of those like crazy fitness guys. I hear that more often than anyone would ever think. And at that point, I know that sales call's over because even if you do sign up for a program, you're not going to get results. So I'm not going to work with you because if in your head you want to build muscle, you want to get shredded, but you're coming home every day to a wife that's making lasagna and breadsticks every single night, and her main objective in life is to keep you from hitting that goal, then the odds of you being successful compared to someone in the same position whose wife is like, hey, honey, I know this goal is important to you. I made some baked chicken for you. I made this healthy meal. The goals of you succeeding when compared to that other guy are astronomically lower because that's your environment. And as we all know, we become products of our environment. So you could want it more than anything in the world, but if your household is saying otherwise, if your wife's bringing home potato chips and a bunch of garbage, it's only a matter of time, no matter how bad you want it, until you cave into peer pressure. So if you are able to, that's the thing. How important is this fitness goal to you? Because if you're on the verge of getting your leg chopped off because you're pre-diabetic and your wife just can't get it through her head that, no, I need to make serious life changes. I've tried having this conversation with you many times. I've tried telling you what's important to me, and she can't get on board. Then yeah, divorce is expensive, but I'd rather lose half my shit than lose half my leg.
Exactly. Yep, 100%. So another way to look at it is when you have older children, my son's 9, but as kids get older, and I heard it from my parents too when I was growing up, you don't want your kid to hang around shitty kids, right? You hear it all the time. Oh, he's a bad influence on him. Oh, he's a bad influence on him. Oh, this, that, and the other. It's the same with you as an adult. It doesn't get different just because you're an adult and you can make your own fucking decisions. It's the same thing. Whoever you leave in your life is going to dictate, help, I guess, make it a reality of what your life's going to really be. And if the people in your circle do not align to what you see for your future, then you've outgrown them. They don't need to be there. And it doesn't mean that you don't love these people. It doesn't mean that you don't care about these people. You can love and care from a distance. Listen, people outgrow people. There's things that I used to do that I don't fucking do anymore. And there's guys that I used to hang out with that still do that shit. And we don't hang out. If I see him somewhere, I'll say hi and we're cool. I mean, I don't have any resentment or hate towards him. I still care about him, but we don't fucking hang out because we're in different places in our lives. And it doesn't mean that I'm better. It doesn't mean that he's worse. It just means that I'm on a different path, right?
Here's a perfect example. I was at a concert 3 nights ago, with a very close buddy of mine who had just recently gotten his second DUI. And the whole time we're there, I drove. I had to pick him up for the concert because he lost his license. And I drove, knowing I was going to have a couple beers, no big deal, but I was going to stay responsible. And the whole time, I bought the first round of beers, he bought the second round of beers. I bought the third round of beers, and I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm at my happy place. Now he's coming up to me every 10 minutes. Hey, I'm getting another beer. You want one? Hey, I'm getting another beer. You want one? Knowing I have to drive
he didn't
home.
drive.
Knowing exactly. That's exactly it.
You were the sucker.
But it was super tempting for me to be like, all right, he's buying. I do want another beer. No one has 2 or 3 beers and wants to stop drinking beers.
Right.
So it's very tempting. Yes, I want another beer. Oh, it's your turn to buy. Hell yeah, I'll take another beer. But you got to think, all right, well, this guy just had 2 DUIs. He's got a free ride tonight. Maybe I'm putting myself in sabotage mode because I'm aligning myself with him and I'm allowing him to influence my life. So although I was strong enough at that point because I'd seen what had happened to him, normally I would say, yeah, keep running those beers. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
And then I could see myself in a shitty position 2 hours later. Whereas if I was with...
I thought you were going to Uber, homie.
I Ubered to and from his house, but I still had to drive the rest of the way. But just if I was there with someone else who didn't have drinking issues, who was like, all right, let's have 1 or 2 and get loose, but then enjoy the concert, it wouldn't have even been that temptation. It would have been like, all right, 1 or 2 beers, we're on our way.
I want to say something too to that aspect is that there's different people for different periods of your life too. I mean, there's some guys that I can talk about. There's some friends that I can talk about manifesting with and fucking making things your reality and shit that some people think is weird. And then there's other guys that like maybe we'll just go to a concert together. You know, so there's different levels of kind of where people are at, or I guess how you use different people in your life, I guess. And not really use them, but just kind of where they fit in or where you guys align, right? So I'm a very positive, outgoing businessman, forward-thinking, growth-minded person, but I still like fucking rap concerts. So maybe I go to a rap concert with a very growth-minded person. Maybe I don't, and I could still have a good time.
I agree.
So that brings us to point 3. Tip 3, be present with your family. What's that mean to you, Joel?
Well, a quote I heard a while ago that really put it in layman's terms was be where your feet are. So if your feet are in your living room and your kids are playing on the floor and you're watching TV and you're more concentrated on the television than you are what your kids are doing, then yeah, you are quote unquote spending time with your family, but are you really? Because if you really were, you wouldn't be focused on what's on TV. You'd be on the ground playing train sets with your son or your daughter. You'd be actually an active participant in what they're doing. So even though you are, quote unquote, present, like your physical body's there, more importantly, you have to bring your mentality, your mental aspect there and really give them all of you. Because so for me, I'm dealing with 40 to 50 clients a week on a very consistent basis. So if I'm hanging out with my daughter, but I'm like texting a client, oh, you only got 80 grams of protein in today. You're supposed to be getting 180. What's the deal? Well, then in her mind, all right, well, daddy's phone's more important than I am. So instead of doing that, I would say map out your business time. And I feel like this gets extra dicey when you run your own business.
Yep.
Extra dicey. So even if you work for a business and you have to do a lot of stuff after hours, it can get dicey. But you have to really make sure that you are where your feet are. Make sure that if you're in a business meeting, if you're texting someone else about something else, you're not in that business meeting. You have to literally be where your feet are. And that, just the simplicity of that saying has worked wonders for me, because my wife will be talking to me on, like, say we'll be on a date and I get like a notification from the Dads Who Lift group and say, hey, Joel Staley, you were tagged in a comment. Well, I automatically want to know, was I tagged in something positive? Was I tagged in something negative? I want to jump on there and see what the deal is, but I have to remind myself, hey, I'm on a date with my wife. She's not trying to look at me. Just because I'm paying for dinner doesn't mean that these are brownie points for me. I have to be attentive. I have to be asking her questions. What's going on with your life? How's work? Of course, we're going to talk about our daughter. But you have to be present, not just there for your family. You agree?
I do, man. So I'm actually glad that you brought that point up. That was something that I wasn't even thinking of, is when you were there with your family, when you actually carve time out and spend time with your family, be present with them. Don't be sitting there on your phone. Don't be sitting there watching TV. Because what does that really show them? Like you said, it shows them that they're not important. So it's one of those things. It's like when you're out at a restaurant having dinner and you see the table, the family, the kids and the wife and the dad, or even just a dad and a kid, and they're both just on their phones the whole time at this restaurant. And it's like, what kind of intimate time is that? What kind of time? How are you growing together as a family by being on your phones and tapped into social media or whatever you're doing? And social media, that could be a whole nother podcast, but it has its place, but the place is not to take over what's really important. What's really important is family, is love. When it comes down to me, as far as, so being a business owner, I own 5 different companies, and being a full-time dad, I'm a single full-time dad. My son's mother's not in our lives, so I raise him 24/7. It comes down to me being efficient in my daily life and my day-to-day activities. When I wake up, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what I need to do that day. And I make sure that I get it done so that when I get to the time to where I can spend with my son, if I have to take him to hockey or whatever we're doing, that I can actually be there and be present. So I like to think, and this is maybe just me liking to think, but I like to think that I'm so prepared for my days, and I'm so meticulous, if you will, with tasks that I have to do, that I get more done in half a day than most people do in a day, because they fuck off and they sit on their phones and they stream Facebook and
busy rather than being productive.
Being productive, yeah. So I am productive. I make sure I'm productive. I mean, there's times, and I'm not saying that this is the way to be either, but there's times where I don't even take a piss, where I'm like, oh man, I got to pee so bad, but I just got to get this done first. So that's kind of my day is rush and not really rush, but just be on point, be productive, get done what I need to get done, so that the rest of my day I can spend with my son. And being a business owner, things are always going to come up. It's a constant juggle. So there's always going to be this, that, or the other that you have to deal with every once in a while you're trying to have that family time. But if more than not, you are focusing just on the family time, playing games, have a game night with your kids, have a game night with your family. So there was a point in my life, and this was in it wasn't that long ago, maybe 6 months ago, where I picked my son up from school. I'm fortunate enough to be able to pick my son up from school every day, and my offices are out of my home, basically. I have an acreage, and we office out of there too. So a lot of the time I'll pick him up from school, and then I'll go back and have a couple more hours of work to do in the office. And he gets that and understands that. That's during a typical day. I mean, he could either go to Kids Net or come home, and I work in the office, But there was a time where in the evenings I was so busy with all the stuff going on, and even part of this, the Dads Who Lift apparel and trying to get everything launched, that he started asking me, Dad, do you have time for this? Dad, do you have time to come look at my room? Dad, do you have time to see what I did? Dad, do you have time to watch me on my four-wheeler? And the first few times, honestly, I didn't catch it. And this is where I'm imperfectious like anybody else. And I was just so caught up in me and what I was doing. But once I started catching on to it, broke my fucking heart. Dad, do you have time? What am I teaching him? I'm teaching him that my work is more important than he is, and that is not the fucking case, because I could give a shit less. I'll drop anything that I have right now to have happy life with my son. I do this stuff so that we can have a good life, so that we are comfortable, and so that I can feel good in my own dreams. But when it comes to it, he's number one.
And that reminds me actually of a conversation we had earlier this week when Facebook flew us out to New York to talk about our Facebook group, Dad's Lift, obviously. I told you that I'm always trying to wake up at 4 a.m. And if me and you could both commit to working up at 4 a.m. and texting each other like, hey, I'm up, I'm drinking this pre-workout, we're good to go, then that would go a long way for me. And what Tyler said was he did that for a while, but what he found was since his quality time with his boy was between say 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. when he woke up that early, then by the time 6 p.m., 7 p.m. hits, he's zombie mode, so he's not giving his son the full attention that he deserves.
Exactly. I might have been more productive, but at what cost?
Exactly.
My son is my legacy, and being a father, as any of you know, this is a Dads Who Lift podcast. Being a father is, if you're a good father, being a father is number one. That's it.
So let's go to tip number 4, man. Get out of your comfort zone. That's a tough one.
Oh, man.
That's a real tough one. Because as humans, we naturally want to stay in our comfort zone, even though we all know only great things happen outside of our comfort zone. When you're in let me give you an example. If I'm talking to a 400-pound man who is on the verge of either having his legs cut off because he's diabetic, or I'm talking to a 220-pound man who wants to lose 20 pounds because he'd feel more comfortable in his skin. His wife would think he looks sexier, and his clothes would fit him better. I can't tell you how much easier of a sell it is for me for the 400-pound man because you know what, dude, your life's in jeopardy. You have to act right now, and that's how humans are. We don't want to move until we're forced to move. I'm sure you've heard if you want to be successful, you have to have that back against the wall mentality. Like you're better off. It's almost like they say if you're super rich, you can be successful. If you're super broke, you can be successful. Because if you're super broke, you know there's no other way for me to go unless I pound, I fucking grind, and I can make shit happen. But if you're in that middle mediocrity, middle class zone, there's really no reason for you to move because you're already comfortable. And I think that translates outside of just finances, but everywhere. So how do you feel about that?
So I agree, and the key in this, and it's not easy at all, but you have to be comfortable out of your comfort zone. That's how you grow. You have to be comfortable out of your comfort zone.
And how do you do that?
So I don't fucking know, man. I mean, it's a process like anything else in life. You just try, you strive towards it. I mean, if you're doing everything, if you have a growth mindset, you're positive, you're always looking to be a better person, right? A better dad, a better husband, a better father, whatever it may be, a better businessman. It's just going to happen. It's one of those things you have to work towards. So to me, I know that I don't grow when I'm comfortable. So if I'm comfortable, I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm never fucking comfortable. And so that's, I mean, it probably sounds horrible to a lot of guys, but it's the truth. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm not happy. That doesn't mean I don't have moments in my life where I'm happy and the moments where you're like, oh God, thank God for everything that I have, and that I'm not in gratitude, but I'm not comfortable, meaning that I'm not where I want to be.
I think you touched on a previous podcast where you said that if you're not failing enough, then you're not thinking big enough. If you start something that you're passionate about, you can't expect it to be perfect on the first go. You have to expect to fail. And with that failure
is growth.
Exactly. So I think when you start a new venture, whether you're 300 pounds and you want to be 160, or you're working at a bullshit job you hate and you want to do your own thing that you're passionate about, but you're scared that you can't pay the bills with that money, or whether even like you can't relate to your kids and you have to find a way to get out of your comfort zone to bond with them, it all boils down to, if you're comfortable, you're not going to make those grandiose actions that it takes to be successful in whatever you're trying to be successful with.
Couldn't agree more, man. Gotta get
yeah.
out of the comfort zone to move forward. That's it.
All right.
Be uncomfortable, grow. If you're comfortable, I guarantee you're not growing. And if you've exceeded all your goals and you're where you want to be, then be comfortable. That's fine. But if you want to grow and you're not exactly where you want to be at, or if you always want to grow, if you're just a growth-minded individual, be out of your comfort zone.
See, this is going to be a history in the making because I disagree with what you just said.
Okay, all right.
I don't think you should ever be comfortable.
To me, I'm not. But what I'm saying is that there's different perspectives of people. If your reality of having a great life is being a good dad and working your 9 to 5, cool. Have fun.
100%.
Love
no
it.
shame on them. I'm
You know?
saying once you get comfortable, you get complacent. And once you
Exactly.
get complacent, that's when shit starts happening. That's when people start, you might be comfortable. I live in a rich neighborhood. I don't need an alarm system. I don't need to carry a gun to protect my family. And if you're a burglar, are you going to break into a shitty house that is working 9 to 5 and having trouble making ends meet? Or are you going to drive up to that comfortable neighborhood and break in where that safe's chock full?
Right. I meant more like if that's what you want out of life, then go for it. That's more what I meant. There's nobody is better on this planet than anybody else. Just because I strive to do more than somebody else doesn't mean that I'm better. So if that's where they want to be, then go be it. This isn't the podcast for you.
So long story short,
that's more of what I meant.
if you're comfortable and you're stagnant,
Then you're not growing.
You're fucking up.
Yep,
Because
exactly.
you're made of more. It's like they say about business, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I think that's the exact same for your mentality.
People talk about retirement, and for me, I don't ever want to retire, ever. When you like what you do and you continue and you are a growth-minded individual that always likes to move forward, why the fuck would I retire? That doesn't mean that I'm going to be out in the trenches throwing block every day like I used to when I was a kid. But I'm not going to retire. I'll invest. I'll do whatever I need to do to continue, feeling good about my life and being a positive and what's the word I'm looking for? A positive member of society.
Yeah.
So, but that's the comfort zone. Let's get to the last point.
Yeah.
Right?
So basically, you're going to want to invest in your self-improvement. And
Yep.
that's something I struggled with, honestly, up until this last year or so. Like I said, I've always been into fitness, so I'd work out, diet, like the YouTube videos and Google told me to do. But it wasn't until I got my first fitness coach that I started seeing actual, this is tailored to you improvements.
Yep.
Same thing with my business. It's like, all right, this is what this, and this guy are doing. So I'll do that exact same thing. But it wasn't until I got my first business coach that said, hey, don't do that. This is where you're at. This is the domino you need to work on. Because I was trying to hit that giant domino when if I hit that small domino, it would eventually trickle into that larger domino. And that's what you get for investing. It's always you're spending one of two things. You're either spending time or you're spending money. Money, you'll find out you can always make back. Time,
Exactly.
on the other hand, you cannot. So when I got my first business coach, I said, oh, you know what? This guy's exactly where I want to be in 5 years from now. I've been twiddling my thumbs and going through the gambit of all this stuff that doesn't work for the last 6 months. What if I could just pay this guy to tell me the cheat code to level up to the level he's at? And then that way I would save myself 5 years of hard work that he had to go through because he learned it by himself. And that's exactly what happened. So I hired this business coach. I say, here's what I got. Here's what I'm thinking about doing. I have this, and this idea. And he said, I see where you're coming from, but that's not what you have to focus on. If you want to be successful, you have to do this. So you check this box.
And what was that?
At the very first business coach I had was start the Dads Who Lift group.
Yep.
Find a niche.
And look at us now.
Find a niche. You don't want to be just another me too. Hey, I can help you build muscle. I can help you lose fat. You have to find a niche. I said, hey, I'm a expecting dad. I see how it can be very tough. So I built the Facebook group. So that was huge. Next business coach I had taught me about the manifesting type deal. So I'll say the general rule of thumb is I've never invested in myself. High ticket, mind you, not like a 20,
Not cheap investments.
not a $29 workout program that you could find for free online
Thousands of
somewhere
dollars.
else. You have to have skin in the game. You have to invest in yourself. Say, hey, I like what this guy's doing. I know he can get me from A to, say, G. I'll get from G to, like, I don't know, W on with another guy. But you have to find someone that can take you there, put your full faith in him, say, hey, I'm going to do exactly what he tells me to do. If it doesn't work out, that's on him because I did my part. And just from following that exact same rule, it's made incredible changes in my life.
Absolutely.
So I know you have plenty of business mentors.
Yeah. So what I say on invest in your self-improvement is that you are, and I've said it in previous podcasts as well, but you are the creator of your world. Your life is what you make it. So the more you invest in yourself, the better you're going to be at those things. So whatever those things are that matter to you, invest on improving those things in your life. To me, it's like I said, it all starts with thoughts. So it's trying to have a positive mindset, trying to stay in gratitude. If I have a positive mindset and I can stay in gratitude, then no matter how shitty things get or how tough things get or what I'm faced with, I can still find the positive in it and I can still be happy and have a good life. And really, what does this all come down to? I mean, it comes down to being happy, right? Having a good life, being happy, having family, having love in your life, having a good...
Providing for your family.
Being successful, feeling like you had a day that was productive. That's what life's about, right? So that all starts from you. If you have a shitty mindset, which is was actually more of our last podcast, but if you have a shitty mindset, you're going to have a shitty life. If you invest in yourself and you have a good mindset, you're going to have a good life.
What's messed up,
it can get even more literal if you're talking about, physical performance. Your investment should be specific to your goals and where you want to go. So if you want to lose weight, hire that coach, hire that fitness coach. Invest in yourself. You can look at it as $200 a month that you're missing out, or you can look at it as $200 a month to feel like the best you've ever felt in your entire life. I say just go for it.
What's funny is when I first got into online coaching, I started training people for $49 a month. And what I found was they would not get results. I could tell them exactly what calories to eat. I could tell them what workouts to do. I could tell them what macros to hit. But I saw over and over again, these people were not getting results. And it wasn't until that first business coach where he said, dude, $49 a month, they have no skin in the game whatsoever. So it's either between going out to pizza with their family and having fun that night, or the $49 a month, which is nothing, of doing your program.
Yeah,
so
right.
It wasn't until I started charging a little bit higher ticket that I saw people started getting better and better results. And again, that comes back to having skin in the game. So to put that on like an even playing field with a business coach for me, if I had a business coach who was just running like a how to be successful business program and I was paying him $49 a month, yeah, I might make those first couple payments. But when it comes down to, I have an idea, I think it's going to be the next big idea. And, this guy who I've paid $98 to in 2 months, fuck this guy.
Yeah,
What's he know?
right.
He's not doing this. Whereas if I'm paying this guy $2,000 a month to tell me what to do, it's like, all right, well, he better have the answers. I'm going to trust anything he says. And just by following the expert's advice and doing what he says to do, I found myself 10 times more successful just by letting the coach be the expert.
Absolutely.
So even though it does it might set a little feeling off in your stomach when you first run that credit card and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. In the long run, it feels really good because you're like, yes, I'm doing this, but I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this because I have a vision. This guy's going to help me meet that vision. And I know he can get me there because he's there right now.
Point blank, you will never lose on an investment you make in yourself. Ever. This life is your reality. It's what you see. It's what you feel. It's what you like. They're your emotions. If you're making yourself better, it's only going to improve your life.
Dude, well said.
That's it.
Let's wrap it up, do our shot.
Let's do it.
And get out of here. You want to pour them up?
Yep.
So we can't give the name of the brand, but We have some peanut butter flavored.
Unless they want to hit us up and sponsor, and this podcast will be coming from.
We have some peanut butter flavored whiskey. Rhymes with Slew Ball. That's sponsoring the podcast free of charge.
I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast. Honestly, the only reason we're doing this is to give back. We want to be the best fathers that we can be. We want to be the best people that we can be. We want to be the best entrepreneurs that we can be. And you get to a point in your life to where the money, it doesn't matter. You know, and then you have a question of what is life, right? What am I here for? And what it is to give back. I'll tell anybody that's listening to this podcast, happiness is in helping others. If you can give back and help other people, that's where you're going to feel the best.
And I'm not making shit for money, but I'll tell you this much: we far from know everything, but we're here to learn, and we're here to become the best selves we can be, just like you guys are. So,
absolutely.
Cheers
to the dads who lift.
Beneath them speeches trying to air a grievance, but his lines are overhead, better check the air for clearance. Call the tower, this is ours, clear the heat, the air apparent. Really I've never been better, legacy this is forever. All the more times I've been severed, I'm raising the bar, you can go ahead and measure. Think about time for a toast, time that we welcome to go. Yo, we're just leaving, I think about
On the next episode of the Dads Who Lift podcast, we'll be talking to Tim Rexius, owner of Rexius Nutrition, co-owner of Iron Heaven Gyms, and we'll be talking about what it's been like to be a serial entrepreneur and a certified dad who lifts. Don't miss that one.
Making sure that you know why, because this is forever.